Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So today is part 2 of Botanical Beauties, and the first prompt for the month is hydrangea. So what I want to do today is show you what I did with these little flowers. I guess prep the last little cluster of bits and pieces I need to finish the collaging, and also work on the stem. So let me just show you what I've done so far. Background wise, I did little clusters of the camphor stitch, just little hints of it. I'm still thinking about the background. I think once I work out the stem and leaves, I might revisit putting some more bits and pieces in the background from the Tim Holtz fabric. The little camphor stitches in the cream, I went back through and did in DMC thread a little bit as well in the pink, just to, sort of, I guess, emphasize the flower head. And as you can see, I have stitched some flowers, which I'll show you how I did those before we move on to the leaves. And I've started adding a few more of these little flowers. I need to cut some more out, because I didn't have enough to sort of get me up to where I had planned. Now the little colour swatch area, those little bits, I just camphored straight over the top and just sort of made them part of the background and not so obvious. So I really like that effect. Usually I highlight them, so I was pretty pleased with the way that came together. Over here, this is my little tab, which I'll use to turn the page. The lace is just invisible stitched down, and just a hint of the camphor stitch. Whether we add more there, I'm not sure yet. So that's where we're at. First, before we get going, I'll show you what I was doing with the little flowers. So I chose a thread. Here's my little box of tricks that's been sitting beside my chair. This is sort of feels like a very light, thin, mohairish type thread. I'm not 100% sure because they're all just in a big pile now. So I ended up putting two together. It's definitely not a sock yarn thickness like a 4-ply. This little guy I did use, but only as a hint of petals. So like it's very subtle. This is the little flower made from that. 2 strands, and this is the 2 little petals that are from that sock yarn, which is nearly a woven, it's not a woven thread, it is twisted, but it's a cotton, so it's a little bit heavier sort of feel. It's left over from a crocheting project I did years ago. That thicker one, I'm just doing 1 or 2 random little flowers peeking out, so it's sort of like, it's a fraction darker. So I felt like that was deep in the head of the flower. So it's just a little hint of these guys, where the main flower is going to be this, and scattered in amongst all of this other, which is the cut out flowers, as well as the little lacy clusters, which, like I said, I need more of to get me up to the top. So what I thought I might do is stitch this guy with you and show you, how I approach doing something like that. Now I normally would have a longer thread because this is a leftover, and when I put this piece down last night, I thought, that can be used in the morning. I might just redraw that one flower here. So it's a 4-petal design. Those were sketched quite quickly and roughly last video. That flower there is 4 petals as well. Do we like the way it's sitting? Because it sort of gives the impression it could be a 5-petal flower. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of that. I think it needs to be 3 petals tucked in behind there. So I'll iron that out and redraw that, and it'll probably just be, just the 3. And maybe I don't need to iron it out. If I put a fabric flower here, those 3 petals will do the trick. Yeah, let's leave it at that. It will be fine, Corrine. So let's get going. So today I'm going to be heading to my mate's house for a day of stitching. The boys are actually going to Brisbane for a flying trip up and back. So I'm going to go and sit on Mary Ann's couch and keep her company. So I wanted to get this film for you guys, and this will give me the homework, you know, something to stitch for the day as we sit and yak. So there we go. I don't know if you can see that. I might zoom in a little bit more because I just did 1 petal. Let's zoom in. So what I do is I do my first stitch on the petal is straight through from middle of the petal to the top middle of the petal. And then I come up next to it, if I remember. By doing that, you save a lot of thread, but sometimes I zone out and forget, and across the back of the petal is this big stitch, but you don't need to. You can sort of save yourself a lot of thread. I work to the one side, reducing the size of my stitch as I go. I think I've got enough thread for 1 more stitch, and then I'll end it off. Oh, I can do another one. They work up really quickly using the wool compared to doing something a lot finer with perlé cotton. Wool is very gracious. That should do the trick. I've got just enough. So you can see the first petal while I was talking to you, I didn't save thread in stitching it. So there you go. See how I've jumped across the back versus not. So I've wasted, well, not wasted, let's, you know what I mean. It's a way of saving, especially if you're down to the last few bits of a thread. And you want to make sure, I'm just threading my needle here, guys. You want to make sure that you've got enough to finish a project. So keep that in mind. All right. Now the next one, I'm going to put a French knot in the centre when I'm finished. So I'm sort of leaving a little gap, but you don't have to, because the French knot will easily nestle in over the top. I did consider putting some beads in there, and I thought, no, I'm going to try and, I'm not going to do beads in this series. I think I'm just going to keep it as fabric collaging with thread painting. I'm not even sure. I think in the last video, I thought maybe I'd do a bit of black line sketching, where at the end I come through with my black pen, my permanent pen, and just put a few little highlight lines. I just don't know. A decision another day. I'm not sure how I'm going to present the name of the flower yet. That's that one done. Most likely the stamps, where I can use the letters to spell out the name. Decision another day. So at this stage, this video will be a 2-part series. First part will be announcing the flower each month, and then sort of getting the project started. And then the second part will be the final few elements and finishing it off. By the end of the video, the piece will be done. I don't think we need to stretch it out over, you know, multiple videos. I think that's all homework, and I want to have space in my calendar for other little projects, so There we go. And now I'm going to come up in the centre and do a French knot. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we go. That's not in the centre. I can see that that knot would be a bit wonky. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. So a whole day of stitching at my mate's place. So I'm thinking I'll take this project and that'll finish it off. And then when I get back this afternoon, my piece will be done and I can film the last few minutes of this video. So you will see it finished. I can take my volume 8, Roxy. There'll be plenty to do on that. So I'm hoping to film before I go to another video for that. There we go. I've got my little piece. So what I might do this time is I'll grab this darker one now. And that's my half flower thread, if that's a rule that I've applied to my project for myself. Just a darker, moodier colour. And it's not a full flower. It's just a peeking through in the background type flower. I might bring in this stitched flower into here. I sort of want to drag a few into the body of the cluster, but not too many because the cluster is sort of working as it is too. These pieces evolve, so, you know, we change our minds, don't we? So this is the big stitch to get it started. And then might even just do 2 petals, you know. I'll have to do a bit of a count of how many more little flowers I need to cut out of the fabric. And also this lacy one, it worked out beautifully. That little gathering stitch put through the bottom of that lace really helped sort of pull it in. All right, just a hint. Whoops. Oh, I've come up through the knot. It's disappointing. Now that's pulled my work real tight because I've pierced the knot. So I just need to take a moment just to soften off those stitches a bit because they've got real heavy and tight. Right, we're back. That can be a problem with wool because it has a big bulky knot in behind. So it's quite easy to stab that knot. So just take your time. There we go, just a peeking through little dark petal. I could go darker. I did consider going through the yarn again and see if I can find a slightly darker thread. But I think I'll wait to the very end because I sort of feel like too I've got enough going on with all of this. In the centre of the flowers, I just did a pearl cotton white French knot. So I did stitch into position with a little stitch the actual flower itself. I think I went through all this in the last video. So what we might do is I added 1, 2, 3, 4, and they don't have the French knot yet. So let's do that. And that way when I add more, 1, 2, 3, 4, when I add more of these little fabric flowers, I know that I've caught up with all the French knots. So that, oh, you didn't see. Zooming in, I tell you, can be trouble. But And I'm sure you guys know what I'm up to. Let's try that again. So that little guy is done. So I'll go up to the top here and we'll catch these 3. See, that also would have been perfect for some beads, little buttons. 2, 3, 4. But I don't think I will. I think there's enough going on without. I sort of want, I guess, this piece. The flower is the hero. The background is subtle, yet still, you know, interesting. Where usually when I do a slow stitch piece, often the background is just as, you know, full on as the rest of the piece. But being this is all about these flowers, I'm trying to hold it back a little bit. All right, I think I've got one more to do over here. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what we might do next is have a look at the green. What am I doing? At the green fabrics. And have select something for the leaves out of the Tim Holtz. And the other thing is, when we do that, we also need to consider our threads. Now, at the beginning of the series, that was lying in the tray and was my choice. But I've since got this thread from my mate Kathy. Now, it looks black to you guys there, but it's actually a dark bottle green. That's better. You can see that colour. But that's all going to depend on what we pick from the Tim Holtz fabric, I think. Maybe these 2 aren't suitable. So I might zoom up a little bit. I've got these sitting here too because I need to cut some more flowers for my homework. But let's have a look at, I might go up a bit more. There we go. So we've got 2 huge flowers. We won't need the orange range. Oh, that's just caught my eye. Don't think we will. No, we won't. Don't even look in there. We don't need chocolate, so we'll leave them for now. Let's have a look at this. Let's see if there's anything suitable. If there's not, I might need to go further afoot. That could work. What about anything else? See, hydrangeas have that real dark leaf. That's I love that, but it's like it looks beautiful with that, but leave it out for a moment. We don't have to follow the rules, do we, of what a hydrangea looks like? Oh, I missed a fabric there. We could do letters. That'd be funky. Anything there? Aren't they just beautiful? Could put a bird in. That little guy's sitting there waiting to, we'll consider that. Tickets, little tickets. I don't mind the idea of that. All right, we don't want ferns. All right, let's have a play. We'll revisit the bird. Let's have a play with these. Right. This guy's the dark one. Like it doesn't, oh, look at it on the camera for you guys. Oh, I can assure you it does not look like that. In my hand, where can I get it darker? That's better. But it's not even that. Trust me, I know you're thinking, oh, that's horrible. It's not. It's actually pretty good. What if we do a combination? I think we will. So we need a leaf. So what we'll do is we'll put a base down. I'm going to try and memory sketch this where you look briefly at it and sketch your shape. There we go. Remember, it was pretty much a heart shape, wasn't it? Let's do that. There's our leaf. You guys can't even see that. Trust me, it's there. And trust me, this is not as bright as it looks. If you don't feel confident doing that, what I just did, the memory sketching, I don't even know if that's what you call it. That's what I used to call it. You could grab yourself some tracing paper or some, what's that stuff we use in the kitchen? Baking paper. And get yourself a bit of an outline. And then cut your piece out. So there's our piece. That'll sit there. We'll do the same for you. Oh, it's so bright. It's not in real life, trust me. It's okay. Let's do another little leaf here. I had a feeling that once I figure out these leaves, the stems will sort of fall into place. It's got a bit of a funny kick at the bottom, then it swooshes up here and up around there. That'll do. And then what we might do is, using some of the other fabrics, we'll collage just, I can't see my lines. Oh well, new leaf. We'll collage some fabrics in there just to have a play with the tone of it. There we go. That does not look as bright as that in real life. Oh my goodness. So green there. It's not, trust me. Isn't it amazing how colour reacts to light? All right, so let's have a little look. We could work from light to dark. So I'm going to have a look at this leaf and go, okay, if the sun is shining, this leaf is tucked in under the head of the flower where this is a little bit brighter. So let's just put, for now, we'll do it like this so that you guys sort of see a technique. But if I was not filming, I would just guesstimate where this piece of fabric would go. Like do a rough cut, but apply the same technique where we just have a little glance and get yourself a piece of fabric that roughly suits. Good morning, Fudge. I heard you having a little drink of water. Just do a bit of a rough snip. Keep checking the piece underneath, and that'll tell you whether you need to take a little bit off or not, or, you know. Yeah. So I guess I'm doing a smaller version of the leaf. I'm sort of trying to keep it a little random. There's such a thing. Even these little pieces, I don't know, let's trim it a bit. Maybe we can use that somewhere just to add a little something somewhere. We'll come back to that. Now this little guy, I think we need some letters. That'd be a bit of fun. I'll have that straight edge. And that pitch can go towards him. And then we'll just do a bit of a piece like so. Lay it on top. And then we might get a little piece of this guy. So just looking at my piece on the page here, and I'll just do a curve with a bit of a straight. And tuck him in there. Maybe just like that. I don't want it too uniformed either. Just want it to feel a little bit random. While we've got some scraps kicking around, let's see what we can do with this guy. And do the light over that way, and this darker bit this side maybe. And then what I plan to do is just invisible stitch it down, find some threads and just do some random stitching over it, and sort of, I guess, decide whether I do a bit of a leaf pattern or I, you know, in the stitch, or just random. So that's that one, that's one. Let's have a play with this guy. So I think we can do it. Why not? So maybe we have something coming out here. Once again, same sort of shape, that half of a heart feel. Yep. And we need a little bit of this guy for the other. Don't need much, so let's just snip that scrap off. Oop, the wrong shape. Or do we just go in like that? I don't mind that, actually. It technically is the wrong shape. That should have been the bump on the other side, but I'm going to go with it. Bounces the light around. I feel like this guy here needs that olive shape to be more predominant. So I might fiddle with that a little bit. I like the olive. Yeah, there we go. I like that. So I'll grab my pins. There you are. We'll just pop a pin in there. And then we'll thread up our basting or invisible stitch. Where's the fudge? I want to roll my chair. Let me just grab my thread. Where's my thread, fudge? Did we forget to bring it to the table? I need to go to the lounge room and grab my sewing machine cotton for my basting. Pussycat's just jumped on my chair. So just pause the video and I'll be back. Okay, I've got my cotton. And I just need a little needle, I think. This one will do. Oh, I had some cotton already. Of course I did. So I just need a needle. You could use a green cotton, of course, but I'm lazy and I don't often change the colour of my basting thread or invisible stitch thread to the colour of my work because it's an itty bitty tiny stitch. So I just find that it's not needed, but it's up to you. If you've got a heap of colourful threads that you've got in your sewing room, and well, I guess use them up because it's a good way to use them. So I'm just working around all those little morsels of green and putting a stitch in them. I'm loving how this Tim Holtz fabric is giving me, I guess, imagery as well. If I was to put this together as a fabric combination, I wouldn't get that detail, I don't think, if I just went to my cupboard and pulled out green fabrics. So working from a pack of fabrics is just the hard work taken out of it. And for those of you who are new, you know, it'll take you a lifetime to gather all of the different fabrics that you would love to have at your fingertips to do things like this. So picking up the odd fabric pack from a quilt shop that's been curated by the designer is a really clever way of getting, you know, a colour palette of interest that you're not having to sort of put together yourself. And I just pop them, I keep them all together, pop them in my cupboard, and then I can just go to, I'm going to just crinkle that a bit. See how I just used my needle there to pull that in, because it's covering underneath another fabric. So let's do a few little pinchy pleats as we do this needle work here, and that's going to give that leaf a little bit of a wrinkle, which I think's cool. It sort of looks animated. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, don't discount little charm packs. The little charm packs are like tiny little packs of fabric that the quilt shops have. They're a lovely way of getting a complementary range of colours. I wonder, can I wrinkle up this leaf a little bit? Yeah, let's do that. This piece is very textured because of all these, you know, little flowers, so we might as well apply that theory. Whoops, pulled my knot straight through to the actual leaf. That will work a treat. So I didn't look at the time before I paused this video, but that's all good. What we might do is I'll leave the other leaf for me to do off camera. I think you got the general gist. I've laid 3 or 4 little random pieces of fabric down, slightly smaller version of the original leaf. I've now invisible stitched it, so my pin's gone, and I've kinked it around. I've sort of tried to give it a little bit of movement. It's not flat. I'm not edging anything in this project. I want to see those raw edges. If that drives you batty and it just doesn't suit your style, by all means you can, you know, stitch all of those pieces down and it'll look beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right, next thing is this stem. Will you work? Now that I've changed it. I don't mind it still. I thought it was being, it just didn't look right. I guess that's safe. I don't know. I'm going to try this. I like the fact that that will stand out when it stitches down over the leaf, but maybe we could use both, is what I'm thinking. I don't have a very big needle here for tapestry wool, because that's what this is. Right, needle, bigger, needle book. Here's my needle book, Jennifer. This needle book, I think, has affected Jennifer Clouston's mental health. When she saw it for the first time, she was like, oh my goodness, so many needles, and none of them are the ones we actually need. It was hilarious. And pretty much that still applies. But I'm obviously a collector of needles that are useless. You know, when you get those cheap needle packs, like you're traveling somewhere and the best you can do is just a cheap needle pack. I think that's pretty much what that's all about. It was pre-doing the channel, pre-focusing properly on techniques and what I'm doing with slow stitch. It was always just whatever. But, you know, we all learn, and we watching our fellow YouTubers and thinking, oh, is that how they do it? I'm going to sneak up into this flower head and lay down a stitch. I guess the question is, are we couching or are we stitching? Couching's easy and quick. I sort of feel like I want to stitch and make it a little messy. And then maybe I'll come back with that green and lay in, because it's finer than this tapestry thread. I've got so many tapestry threads, guys. I'm so pleased that I'm finally using. This is the first one. Grandma has done so many tapestries in her time. It was her relaxation from being a dressmaker. And that tub of tapestry threads went with her to the nursing home, and it sat by her chair in the window in the sun, and she continued to do tapestries for many years. So when she passed and all of her goods and chassels were sent off to my parents, Mum and my aunt said, "Here you go, they're for you." And they're sitting in the cupboard. And they've been sitting there, and I keep looking at them thinking, I must do something with them. But there's all these new fandangled, fancy, hand-dyed threads and, you know what I mean. So I've been playing with them over the last few years. And I must admit that the tapestry threads that I've got, when I look at them as a whole, they're very muted tones. There's nothing real modern there, which sort of makes sense for all of those tapestries in the day. They weren't bright pieces. They were landscapes and animals, fur, and so they sort of haven't fit with any of the projects that I've been doing. There's certainly no strawberry colours, put it that way. So I think by using the Tim Holtz fabric as my colour palette here, I'm thinking there might be an opportunity. I'm going to end that off. I feel like, oh, maybe one more stitch. There might be an opportunity to actually get them out. I'm heading up to that leaf, which hasn't been secured yet. So a little bit excited to be able to use them. I do find that they are work to use because they are so thick. The needle would have to be, you know, really pulled through to, you know, use them. I'm going to just quickly invisible stitch that leaf. I want to get rid of that pin. Yeah, the needle is quite an effort to pull through. So I don't think I'll be permanently using them because I've got to look after my hands. As it is, I've got a little bit of pain in there. I seem to have jarred my hand. I think it was dragging suitcases actually around when I went to America. I've just right up to my elbow, tennis elbow, I think they call it. So I've got to be a little bit careful. It comes and goes. It was chronic, but I gave it a bit of a rest and it seems to have settled. But every so often, like especially when I do grocery shopping and you carry groceries out of the trolley into the back of the car, lifting, by the time I get in the car to drive home, I can feel that dull ache again. So I'd say I've done something and it just doesn't take much for it to, you know, ache. It's not bad, but I think tapestry thread is, you know, hard work. But we can have a little play. I'm running out of thread here to stitch that, so won't take long to finish this piece off. I think that's needs a bit more, doesn't it? There was a tiny slither of fabric in under all those bigger pieces, and I need to secure that, otherwise it will. For those new, I always put a little knot at the top of my needle too. It just saves you having to rethread all the time. And this thread is so fine and the needle is big enough that the hole it makes as it goes through will not, you know, jam up by having a knot there. You don't even notice it. And what it does is it saves you rethreading that needle 100 times. I find I'm quite I twist and move a lot when I'm sewing, so my thread is constantly falling out of that needle. So those of you who've watched me for a while, you'd know that I do that. For all the new folks to this slow stitching, fabric collaging world, just a hot tip for your sanity. There we go, that's secure. Right, so I can put that needle away. Now let's get a little bit more of this. And what we might do is just pop a few stitches into that leaf to connect it to the stem. So it looks like it's part of it. So coming up where I finished, and now we just got to decide where we lay the thread. Are we going to be random, or are we going to be quite considered so it does look like a leaf? I think I'm going to be a little bit considered, so I'll do a stitch that it looks like it's the vein. Do I need another stitch? See, I've got one in. I don't know. If I do another stitch, I feel like I need to go to the tip of the flower, which I will. I'm going to do that. Except I'll make them big stitches so it feels very long and lineal, I think, and not short. So I'm sort of going past my stitch a little bit. I'm not going down in the same hole because I want to keep that sketchy look. Oh my goodness. The technical words we use to describe our actions. There we go. 3 good generous stitches. There we go. Why is my table creaking? What's changed? My chair too is like an office chair, and it has that lever that pumps you up into the air if you want to adjust it. Well, I think the pump, or whatever it is that does that, the gas strut pump thing, has failed. So every time I sit on it, I slowly sink down. That's probably why I'm creaking the table, actually, because now my arms are really leaning into the table where usually they're not. So I'm starting on the flower, on the leaf itself. I've got to work out how we're doing this. I sort of feel like I want to go there, but then the leaf stem is like that. I'll go this way. Yeah, so I don't know if they're replaceable. My chair's still good, but... And now the strut is to the point where the moment I sit on it, I sink. I could slide it around the table and just grab another chair because I've got 4 here around my table. But what do you do when they're all like that? I would say this chair would be 18 months old. Purchased when we moved up here, because the chairs I had originally, the pleather, fake leather, had started to crack and was, you know, looking nasty. So I bought myself 4 new chairs. I think that room I had in Brisbane, my old craft room, used to get a lot of sun in the west in the afternoon. So I'd say that heat and the combination of my big butt on there just sort of broke it down. See, Fudge agrees. So now I'm just doing stitches to get me back down to that main stem, not making them too thick because we sort of want to get thicker as we get lower. So let's end you off. It is hard work pulling this through if I went to a tapestry needle, which is what you probably just thought as I said that, that's got a blunt end tapestry needle, so that would be unpleasant as well. I sort of do want a sharp tip so that I can pull through the, you know, yarn. Okay, let's finish this guy off. Now I'm happy with this colour. Doesn't really super match the leaves, but there's hints of this colour in the fabric of the leaves, if that makes sense. And I think when I grab a little bit of that darker one and just do a few little random stitches, it'll tie it together quite well. Now we're getting down to the base here, so I want to thicken up my stem. And we also need to connect this little guy in. So Susanna is doing a block of the month kicking off very soon. She'll have more details over on her channel Vintage Blend Studios. So I'm going to be doing it as well. I had a chat to her yesterday about it. And but what I'm going to do, she's making a piece, like a coverlet type size slap quilt, out of all of the blocks. There's 9 blocks. What I'm going to do is have a look at them and see what projects I can come up with them other than a quilt, a blanket thing, a lap quilt. So some of the blocks I'll combine, you know, if the colour palettes suit, I'll combine them into a project. So, you know, month 1 and month 5 and month 7 might, for example, be one project. Some of them might be independent on their own, just make a gorgeous pouch or, you know, something. So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure when that kicks off actually. I think it's September, I think she said. So that'll be something else we can play with. She's put together some beautiful fabrics. There we go. I've met that little piece there. I think I want to peek it out the bottom, but I've run out of thread. I feel like I need a third little branch here. Something here, just to balance it a little bit. And then maybe I cut another little bit of fabric. Have we got any scraps? Yeah, we do. Like a tiny little leaf. Just feel like it'll anchor the bottom. This feels all very heavy and we've got quite light here. So I'm going to put this in here. We could make a leaf out of the thread just to have a different type of leaf. Be one thing we could do. Let's bring you down, little guy. Now I'm going to come right down the bottom through all that and try and sneak a stitch. Only got a little bit left. A couple of stitches here. So that looks like it's a specimen tag is sort of the thought I had when I put that piece of fabric there. And like the name of the flower could go there. It's just a thought. Let's do another stitch. Well, that's tight to get through there. I might have to pull out little pliers, but I don't like doing that because it's all pressure on your joints. There we go, just a little hint of it. All right, so let's have a look at this dark green. And let's have a look at this little We're going to have more scraps than that guy. There's a little bit. Can we make a leaf out of you and you? We probably don't need all of those fabrics because he's only little. And it might get a bit. How does that look? It looks all right. Let's give this guy a little snip and a trim. Keeping that half a heart concept in the back of my mind. There we go. That'll do. Just a something. Where's my needle with the cotton? Let's get a couple little stitches into him. My phone's pinging. What does that mean? Does that mean that Marianne's telling me that Kev's about to leave their place and pick up Gaz to drive to Brisbane? Gaz is still in bed. Should I pause the video and see who's pinging me? I think they agreed 7:30 and it would only be about 6, so it should be all right. I don't need to do that. So that little thread there didn't hold, so let's just scoot up there and give you a little stitch. There you go. That just balances the branch a little bit. So look at that dark thread. Yeah, I think once the flower head goes up, right up here and becomes, you know, nearly the size of my hand, I think that's really good. But I'll just thread up this cotton because I'll be bound to pick that needle up again. All right, so let's have a little look at the dark thread. Just cleaning up my little mess here of scrappy bits. This guy, I think we could do something with it. Why not? The more layers when doing this type of work, whether it be fabric or thread, the more layers you layer in, the better it becomes. You know, sometimes it, I guess, thickens up. Oh, I just kicked the camera, sorry guys. I'd even be tempted to go and find some tatting and bring a little bit of tatting into it. So we'll start up here again because that's the dark spot of the flower, and just do some little stitches. I had a feeling I should wrap it, but I don't know. Let's just layer in a few little random stitches, yeah, as if we've just picked up the paint brush and we're putting a little bit of shadow in. Now we worked out the light was coming from this direction, so that's the light bits. So everything I do with this needs to be that other side. Yep. I'll just jump down a little bit. I don't want to do a big hard line, I don't think. So I'll just come down a fraction and slip it in there. Just a couple little stitches. Sneak it down into there. That's definitely a dark corner where all those meet. So I'll just jump down, put a shadowy stitch in there. We might highlight that little leaf is joining the branch there with a little round stitch. And I'm couching, oh, I can hear Gaz. I'm couching a little stitch because that's a curved stitch. We need to hold it. So that just shows where this guy is joining. So we've got a bit of a dark spot there. So we'll jump a little bit further. This is the light bouncing off this leaf. This is the dark side. So let's put a stitch here to denote that we're now getting a bit of a shadow this side of that stem. And I've got a little bit left, so I'm going to scoot to the bottom and go into there. All right, let's end that off. So what I might do is I'm going to pause the video because I can hear Gaz in the kitchen. Maybe it's later than I thought. I'm going to pause the video, get him on his way, and then I'll come back and I want to just go through the other pink fabrics, not only cut out some more leaves, more flowers, but maybe there's an opportunity to put a little bit more colour around. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I'm back. So I'm finished with the green. I can put that away. I don't think I'll do anything else to the leaves. I did think about putting some tatting or something on there. I'll think about that a little bit more, but I don't think I will. So I can actually put this green fabric away as well. And we will review the pinks, cut out some more. Do we add the bird? Oh, let's think about him. Forgot about that. Green stamp, no. I think we'll go pinks. I'm considering background additions when I'm saying this, pinks. All right, so that's those. Now let's have a look at this bird. Where would he go if he did? I sort of don't mind that. Maybe he goes on the bottom. Oh, so tempted. Let's just trim him out. Why not, I say? We could have a little bird here and there through our pieces. That yellow is not right. If he went in there like that, I don't know, it sort of feels like an add-on, doesn't it? No. Now I've cut the bird out, I'm going to lose him. So what I might do is I'm just going to pop a stitch in there just to keep that little bird, oops, with the fabric. Otherwise he will disappear into the abyss that is this room. And just do a quick tack onto there so he won't get lost. But it's just not what we want. I don't mind that, those digits there. Let's have a look at the pink. Maybe there's something here. Let me zoom out a little bit. No. A map. Piece of map. Mulberry. Gee, it's a shame the mulberry tree doesn't have a really big obvious flower. Maybe a little piece of map. Don't mind that. No. A stamp, no. I need you because I want to cut a few more flowers. I've already got a ticket. Letters, alphabet. No, because I think that'll interfere with the word of the plant. Ooh. Do we bring humans into it? Do we cut out some of these gorgeous little pieces and have a bit of a human element? I don't know. They're so gorgeous. I think that, like the bird, they might overpower things. I don't know. Would that little girl look cute sitting down there? I also don't want to pick the best bits out of my piece of fabric too, because maybe, you know, a bigger piece another day might be more helpful. Oh, the decisions, aren't they? Don't mind that as a bit of fabric. No, we're not going to be cutting humans out or birds. I do like that map. So let's pull that out for a moment. And that pale one, I think my background additional fabrics need to be pale. Let's cover you up. I did just see that there out of the corner of my eye, that there. Oh my goodness, it's hard, isn't it? I'm going to take that little bit. I don't think we want yellow. Let's take that little morsel out of there. Just that and that. Sort of feel like the piece could handle a little bit more interest. I don't mind that. I like that. I think I need something here. Like we could make a yo-yo. I don't know if it's a yo-yo type piece. Suffolk puff yo-yo. I definitely would have to make it because I don't have colours that suit. I'm going to stitch that down with invisible stitch. I will then go over it with the cotton with lots of stitches so it becomes part of the background. And I've already got some there anyway, so that's a task for my homework. This yo-yo business, I don't know, I don't think it's a yo-yo type of piece. I think the background needs to be subtle on all of the pieces through the whole project. Just making rules for myself here as I'm talking out aloud. All right, that little bit's in position. And I think we want a piece of this. I like the colour. Maybe, here's an idea. Maybe we do a sherry iris technique where you gather it up to make it look textured. I like that. Now sherry would like create a bow or, yes, pussycat. And often she puts French knots down that little gathered piece of fabric. I think what I might do is just to give, like how I crinkled the leaf up. And we've got a crinkly looking flower. I think what we'll do is we will, don't want to cover my monogram, don't want to be in line with this piece. So what if we start there with a little stitch to secure it. Can always put a French knot in there if I choose to, and then crinkle it up a little bit like we've gathered it, and another little invisible stitch. I think that's going to add an element and not be, you know, the same as what I've already done. Gives me something a little extra for no reason whatsoever. We just have this little gathered piece. Gather that there and that there. Like that. And I think what I might do, excuse me, I feel like I'm about to have a coughing attack, is maybe in one of these threads do a few little stitches along there. I feel like it visually looks great, but could do with something to tie it all together. Maybe, what about some little X's? So it looks like they're holding this fabric, this ruffle. Let's call it the ruffle, the Sherry Iris ruffle. Oh, I've just gone through my stitch. Oh, goodness me, I can never see which way I'm going. Okay. All right, so it's ruffled. Excuse me. It's ruffled. It's in position. Now I need something to tie it into the piece. I've got a little bit of this thread. Maybe we do this. Maybe we do some seed stitch. Just a few little. I didn't really want to get into the whole seed stitch thing on this project as well. I wanted to try and do some different elements. So do we do an X? Maybe we do an X. We start here off the piece of ruffle. We do an X to look like it's holding the ruffle. X's are good because we could use them in future locations where we just need a pop of colour from a thread. So X's in the arsenal is not a bad thing. So let's do another one. We'll make it a bit more random, so we'll go up high for you. I don't know if you guys can see this real well. Let me zoom in for a brief moment. All right, I'll come down low and maybe off the fabric a smidgen, the ruffle, so it looks like it's holding it again. There's 3, so maybe another one up here. I guess then, now that we have this little X thing happening, we should probably look at the whole piece and see if there's another spot. We can drop a couple X's. Oh, I know, up in that lace, up the top there. That, to me, looked a bit plain as well. Let's do that. I did consider stitching around the edges of all these little pieces of fabric with an overcast stitch, and I thought, oh, I do that all the time. I don't want it to overpower my flowers going forward, so I've got to be a little bit careful with that, and I want to use yarn so it can look bulky. I'm thinking some X's up here might help it make sense, even if it's just one. I've only got a little bit of thread left, so maybe we just do one little sneaky one, see what that looks like. I think we need more. Of course we do. Can't just have one, can we? Let's sneak it down onto this piece of cluster. It might help tie that in. Now I've got to knot off and get some more thread. Don't stress about knotting off when it comes to wool. If you can get a couple little stitches in, it's not going to go anywhere. So where would we put the next one? Down here. Looks good to me. We'll make it a decent size so it's a big feature. I guess then we've got to have a think about, do we put any more anywhere else or just let it go? We'll leave it at that. So it comes together quite quickly when you're using wool. Well, I think that's all of my design elements in place. We've done our stem, we've got our leaves. All I've got to do now is cut some more flowers, which was just a little, where's the bit where we were nibbling? So I really like that. That would be rather cute. I'll cut that out as if it's going to be put onto the piece as a feature. I don't mind that down there. You know, just as a little pop of colour. That sat really narrow like. Sort of brings that as a feature because they're up here in the plant. Yeah, I like that. That's it. It's like a little cluster highlighting. Yeah, highlighting the smaller flowers. So I need at least 2 more, maybe 3 more of the smaller flower. This is now just prepping some bits to take with me to finish the project. Oh, got that. So a couple little random guys there. And they then get cut out. So if you miss the first part 1, this is how I made the little flowers for the actual hydrangea. Really simple. Don't overthink it. And all those little bits that I'm cutting off, throw them in a basket and just keep them nearby because you just never know when you'll get an opportunity to use them, because you know they're pops of colour. Okay, now I can flip them over and they'll just work into the cluster. Just slowly building my way up to the top of the flower. So there you go. I will continue filling this all in and stitching this down, and my piece will be done. Let me zoom out. So I might toddle off. I hate to think how long this video is. Yeah, so I can take that with me, take some of them, and we're ready to go. We'll be all finished. All right, I'll see you in a moment with the piece finished. Okay, I'm back and my piece is finished. So what did I do when I left you guys? I finished stitching the rest of those little flowers in with a little French knot to secure them down. There was that invisible stitch first and then the knot just to sort of give them a center. I didn't add any more wool flowers. I thought that's enough. The little lace ones fit in nicely. So I think in total there was probably 3 to 5 additional flowers needed to pad that out. I could continue up here a little bit, but I sort of thought I'll just leave it because then it would get very round. So I sort of like the idea that it's tucked in there. Plus there's that stitching there. So just keep it a little bit random. Invisible stitched that down. Same that there, and then did a little bit of that running stitch just to sort of drift up into the bottom of that. I think that's it. I haven't yet put the name of the flower on the piece. I'm just going to wait. We'll see. Maybe I'll come up with, you know, stitching it or stamping it. Just not sure yet. So no rush. So that's our first piece. Okay, so the next prompt will be on the 1st of the next month. When I did volume 1, Botanical Beauties, Susanna and I announced a prompt each on the Monday of the month. I'm going to do the 1st of each month this time. So I hope that's not too confusing. It might bump around some other scheduled videos, but we'll work it out. We'll work it out. If anything changes, I can always let you know in future videos. So there you go. Consider this one completed. Our very first page in our journal, Volume 2, Botanical Beauties. I've grabbed the book, actually. It's just sitting there. Hold that thought. All right. There's my cover. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Here she is. And that will be there one day. And as I said, we won't worry about the spine yet. You know, it's who knows how thick this will get. So I'd just get yourself the cover. If it has no spine, doesn't matter. If it does, you'll probably end up losing it anyway because it'll get, you know, quite chunky pretty quick. That's just the wadding and all the pieces we're going to stitch. That's without that on top. So you can see she will be a chunky monkey. All right, that's it. Have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.